Hi, welcome back to SoCal Focus with Duncan Bravo. I'm Michael Blazer. I'm filling in for Duncan this week, and I have my special guest Kathy Costas with us. Let's say that fast. Guest Kathy Costas with us today from FMB Wealth Management, and she is a specialist in financial planning, specializing in divorce. She's actually certified in that particular expertise of financial planning. So we were just talking before the break, we were talking a little bit about some of the specifics that she actually gets involved with her clients. And you know, it's like anything else. I tout in the mortgage business. It's so complex. There's so many nuances that experience matters. And the same thing could apply to Kathy. Her expertise in this area is probably second to none. And as you can tell from her very pleasant demeanor, she'd be a lovely person to sit down and talk with and counsel with if you're going through a divorce. Preferably one at a time, maybe not both in the same room at the same time. I don't know, how does that work? Tell us a little bit about maybe you could elaborate on a unique experience or two for the audience so that they could.
Well, you know, everybody's story is a little different and yet similar. I am seeing a lot more older folks getting divorced, 60s, even 70-year-old folks. And I do a lot of research. I'm always reading about divorce. I'm always doing educational webinars and things to keep up. And one of the things I saw recently was a lot of the older divorces because we're living longer. So now if you're 60, you're going to live till at least 80. And so making a change in your life at 60 is not such a crazy idea. So I do see a lot of older folks. That has a whole different set of challenges because you're not in your prime earning years, and in terms of spousal support and things like that, now we need to look at a retirement plan and how we're going to create an income stream for both of you to live off of. So it brings a different set of complexities. But I think what's important is I've worked on hundreds of divorces. So I always tell my clients, benefit from my experience with that. Rather than trying to reinvent the wheel or do this on your own, let me bring the experience of all those who have gone before you, and let's see if we can not make the same mistakes.
Yeah,
and let's see if we can't find a better way to do it. And I find I surround myself with a network of other professionals like Michael, for example, as well as a number of divorce attorneys, mediators, therapists. It's always very important how you communicate about this whole divorce in front of your kids. So I always tell my clients, go to a therapist immediately and set some ground rules on how you're going to talk about this and what you can and can't say in front of your children, because in the heat of the moment we lose that, but it's a lasting impact, unfortunately. So right. I bring in the therapist, health insurance consultant, private investigator, you name it. So I've created that set of resources. So my clients will call me for things unrelated to their direct financial plan. A lot of times, again, that health insurance is a big deal, especially if you're in your 60s. Now you've been kicked out. As soon as you're divorced, you can no longer be on your spouse's corporate plan, for example. So now you need to find your own individual health care. That's a big problem to solve, and we need to factor the cost of that into your settlement and into the impact on your long-term financial well-being versus your spouse's, for example. So, again, I think it's about you don't have to walk this ground all by yourself. Let me help you and benefit truly from the experiences and some of the creative solutions, and let me advise you on the pitfalls and the practicalities. And there's a lot of misconception about divorce, and I can help you navigate that.
So get it, America. There is a lot here that she brings to the table. If you're even considering filing for divorce, you might want to consult with somebody like Kathy and let her take advantage of her experience and let her guide you through this process, much as I do with my clients who are seeking to buy a home or refinance a home. Planning is so important, and I urge people to call me ahead of time. Let's set a plan forth. It might be 6 months out, but it will position you to take advantage of the market at that time because of the nuances that are looked at by the underwriters, for example. the sources of your income, the sources of the money in your bank accounts that we count as assets. All of these things are taken into consideration, and it's so important that you understand all of this well in advance of actually trying to pull off the purchase, because, my friends, it's too late if you wait until then, and now you're in escrow and you've got an actual deposit at risk in the transaction, and you are just now talking about some of these nuances that pertain to your personal financial situation. It's generally too late. You need to address that up front, and it could be as little as 30 days up front, but at least get pre-qualified, pre-approved, and through that process I can find and identify for you those nuances that will create a speed bump for you in the approval process of closing on your home. And that's so important that you understand that there are so many things now due to the Dodd-Frank legislation that came about that you just don't want to be tripped up at the finish line. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, let's talk a little bit about how interest rates are moving. Right now, interest rates are pretty low. You know, I've been in this business a long time, and I've seen interest rates as high as 17%. I used to do loans at 17%. Could you imagine? But today, interest rates are in the high 3s, low 4s. It's a great time, great opportunity to buy a home and start that foundation, building that foundation for your personal wealth. 99% of the time starts with owning your own home, at least one, your primary residence. Now, when you get established, you get wealthy, you buy two, you buy a second home, or you know, some of these celebrities that have multiple homes all over the world. That's great, right? But you got to start somewhere. Start with your personal residence. Stop paying rent. Start paying yourself. By building equity in your home, with every payment you make, you're building equity and building a future for yourself. And here in Southern California, home prices have been going up about an average of about, depending upon the area, anywhere from as low as 6% a year to as high as 9 and 10% a year. I had a client just came back to me that I talked to a year ago. They're now going to be paying, they're going to buy now, but they're going to pay 9-10% more than they would have had they gone forward a year ago. They just got cold feet, just decided to wait for whatever the reason is. So, you know, I urge people to reach out and talk to us about that. We can help you if you have questions in that regard as to when's the best time to buy a home. But I like to tell people sooner rather than later. The Federal Reserve seems to be on an upward swing right now. So the Fed funds rate, which the overnight rate that banks charge each other, is what they control. But that influences, because remember, that's what the banks charge each other. So that influences everything interest rate oriented from there. Even though mortgages are not directly tied to the Fed funds rate, they are more or less tied to the 10-year Treasury bond, and that moves based upon market sentiment. So when the market senses interest rates are moving up, the likelihood of the 10-year moving in that direction is probably strong, and hence interest rates will move up as well. And, you know, again, speaking historically from people who've been doing this for a long time, if interest rates were to move to 5%, to me, that's not a big deal. I spent the majority of my 40-year career doing mortgages at 10%. So 5% sounds like a pretty good deal. But rather than waiting for that event, why not take action now, talk to Duncan about, you know, where you want to live, and what kind of home prices are we looking at. Then talk to me, because I'm really the first step in that process, in seeing how well you can be pre-qualified, how much money you're eligible to borrow to buy that home, in combination with the money that you have accumulated or could borrow from family members. We also have all kinds of alternatives besides conventional loans. We've got FHA loans, which are really popular for those who have impaired credit or need some extra forgiveness in the debt ratio category. Interest rates are great on FHA. You do have to pay mortgage insurance on that, but what we do for about 80% of our clients is down the road we refinance them out of that FHA into a conventional loan once they get established. So that's always
Michael, if I may, one thing I learned from you too that I didn't realize is after 3 years you're considered a first-time home buyer again. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, more or less, yeah.
So then you,
Yes.
again, in my divorce realm, if I have a woman who's been married, they owned a house together, maybe they go through a divorce, she rents for a while. After 3 years, she may qualify for a smaller down payment, some different programs as a first-time home buyer, even though she had owned a home and been on a mortgage previously with a spouse.
Right. These nuances are many. One is I've had clients that, excuse me, I've had clients that don't actually have an income. But what they do have is a retirement account. And if they're of retirement age, we can actually do a asset reduction program or depletion program for them, drawing down on those retirement funds and using that to qualify. Another product we have that a lot of people don't even know is possible is that of a reverse mortgage to buy a house. You can get a reverse mortgage, and if you're age 62 or older, to buy a home. And most people think it's only a way of owning your home, refinancing your home to own it and not have to make any mortgage payments. And yes, that's true, but you can actually buy a home with a reverse mortgage as well. So lots of different things happening in the mortgage world. Fannie Mae just recently announced that there's going to be an easing on debt-to-income ratios. And the Trump administration is actually focused heavily right now on the Dodd-Frank legislation. Maybe they're going to revamp that. Maybe they're going to make some changes in there that will be better for everybody to be able to buy a home. You know, home ownership is at an all-time low. I believe the number is around 62%. And part of the problem, of course, is people just can't afford a home. And in SoCal here, you know, our home prices are such. I mean, we're right here at the corner of Hollywood and Vine right now. And within a stone's throw of here, there's condominiums that are $1 million plus.
Yeah.
So we are kind of the exception, not the rule. If you're watching this in Illinois or Indiana,
Ohio,
or
where I grew up. It's a whole different market in the Midwest.
It's a whole different deal.
Absolutely.
But for now, here in SoCal, that's the focus of our show, Southern California. Home prices are up, and they seem to be continuing to go up.
You know, and Michael, when we do wealth management and wealth management planning, and we look at someone's overall net worth. So we always factor in their real estate. It's a way to diversify your assets. And people don't always look at it that way, I think. But we built it into your overall worth picture and your overall diversification. If you've got stocks and bonds, then this is a way to have real estate. And, you know, I always tell people there's kind of three reasons for an investment. Either it generates an income stream, so maybe you get dividends on a stock or you get an interest payment on a bond, or there's growth in the value. You buy Apple stock at $50, you sell it at $500, or there's a tax benefit. So either your retirement account where you get tax deferred growth, or a municipal bond where you don't pay taxes. Now, real estate can solve all of those problems, especially Southern California, right? The idea that it's going to grow in value pretty likely, as you're saying, 10% a year possibly. If it's a rental property, you can generate an income stream, and we factor that in when we do retirement planning. And a rental property is a terrific another stream of income if you're retired. And then there's the tax benefit. You get the interest deduction on your taxes. So real estate is really a great, as Michael said, a place to start to build your wealth. Yep. And we find that our clients who have the most wealth always have started, you know, with that first real estate purchase and then have just gone from there. It's a huge way to create wealth. Absolutely.
Kathy, one of the segments of this show we like to touch on a little bit about getting to know you personally. Tell us a little bit about what you like to do for fun.
Well, I have 3 kids still, so
there is no fun.
Well, it's a different kind of fun. I got one coming home from UCLA this week, another one going to go to UC Santa Barbara, and my third one's still in high school. So the third one, I'm at basketball games a lot, watching her play basketball. I'm an outdoors person, though. I think maybe growing up in the bad weather of Ohio, been out here since '92, and you will find me, if there's any possibility, at the beach. Love to paddleboard, love to hike. In fact, this weekend weekend. I think I hiked probably 15, 20 miles. So really anything outside. I spend a lot of time inside. So when I can get outside, that's what I like to do.
Totally.
Yeah.
Duncan and I are both into the car hobby.
Yes.
Duncan's a car collector. He specializes in Jaguars. He's got a very nice collection of Jaguar automobiles. Me, not so much. I just have my basic vehicles, but love to drive on the weekends through the canyons of Malibu here, up and down Pacific Coast Highway. Nothing better than to get a bunch of guys together and we get in our cars and we drive, have breakfast at one of the nice restaurants in Malibu.
That's tough. That's tough.
It's a wonderful way to spend a day. So, tell me a little bit about how FMB operates. How do they work with their clients? How do the clients stay informed a little bit about their account? Should they open an account with you?
So we have a set process, and I joke because we have a piece of paper that's laminated, and I say, well, if it's laminated, it's got to be real. But we have a very set process for a reason. We're building relationships with our clients. We're not one-off. We don't want to just do a transaction and send you on your way. So we look at your overall picture. We sit down. Our first process is called a discovery meeting, and it's asking you everything from what's important to you in your life, like you've said to me, what do you like to do on the weekends, to what are your goals, what keeps you up at night right now, what are your concerns, what are you trying to accomplish. And once we take in that information, again, we can't offer a solution if we don't know the problem we're trying to solve. And I think a lot of advisors, you sit down and they say, this is what you should do, but they haven't really even gathered the information.
Or they want to sell the hot product of the day that's paying them the largest commission.
Exactly. So we put that, I think, in the right order, and we do the intake. And then from there we'll go away and we'll create, if you have a portfolio, we'll give you a second opinion on that. And again, there's no cost or obligation for these steps. So we'll take a look and tell you what you're paying in fees. We'll tell you where your risk actually lies. If you have a mutual fund, it's hard to know what you actually own in there. So we do that analysis, and whatever you've told us is your concern and the problem you're trying to solve, we'll come back to you at a second meeting with what we would suggest, and how we might do something different than what you're doing, or if where you are right now is terrific, then terrific. So we do those two steps, and then it's a third step where what we call our mutual commitment meeting, where at that point we decide, are we a good fit? Are we value add for you, and are you comfortable with us? And if we go forward, then we have a very set process. We meet after 45 days where we go through and make sure everything is where it should be. And then every 3 months we touch base, either on the phone or in person. We insist on meeting our clients in person at least once a year. And if it's a husband and wife, because I do deal with the divorce scenarios, I always have a husband and wife come in together. Even if one says, look, I'm not interested, that's his realm of our marriage. It's important that you're both on the same page, because what I find doing what I do is it can be that financial crossroads that can end a marriage. It might be sending a child to college. One of you says, we're going to spend every dime we have, the retirement, it's, the child's not going to have student loans, and the other might say, well, wait a minute. It's fine to have student loans. So we want to get everybody on the same page before you get to those turning points, so that you are working
correct me
together.
if I'm wrong, but finances are probably the number one leading cause of divorce. Am I correct?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely, and not just that, but there's stress. And I always say to folks, it's pretty unlikely you're going to come home tonight and sit down at the dinner table and look at your spouse and say, "Hey, let's talk about our money." Right? That's just not likely to happen.
Right.
So I think we're a good facilitator in that discussion, because we're going to do a separate risk comfort test for both of you, and then we're going to come together and discuss it. And I always tell people, you have a relationship with money before you have a relationship with each other, and you bring that baggage, and that may be the way you were raised, or maybe your family had financial difficulties, you name it, but once you kind of understand where each of you is coming from, then that really opens up the understanding, and that's where we find we can really come together and create some sort of a plan. As Michael said, you have to plan. Create that plan that you're both comfortable with.
Right. Excellent advice. I hope that the viewing audience gets a sense for the confidence and expertise that Kathy has to offer. And she's very comforting to be around. Even if I have the slightest amount of angst when I'm around Kathy and I listen to her speak, she has a very calming effect on people. I think that it's an outstanding trait to have. Most people couldn't possibly have that kind of skill. And in the field that you're in, that's got to be so important. So
money's very emotional.
Yeah.
And it brings fear, it brings anxiety, it brings discomfort, all those things. And I think recognizing that, first of all, is a good thing. But also, yes, helping someone find that comfort level of what's going to, we always say it's great to give you advice, but if you can't sleep at night, it's no good.
Right.
So that's really what.
And that weighs in on what I do too, because as a mortgage advisor, I don't want to. Even if people qualify for a mortgage that's beyond their capabilities, I don't want them to go down that path. I've talked many of a client out of buying a $1.2 million home and sort quote unquote settling for an $800,000 home, which is a fabulous home, even in Southern California, and people living in a world where paying their mortgage is not their sole focus of going to work every day, and at the end of the month they have nothing left over. It just doesn't make any sense. You have to balance life, correct?
Absolutely.
And you have to balance fun and entertainment and your relationship and own a home and building wealth and all of those things. Everything has to be in balance, and that's what I try to practice. It's what I try to get my clients to understand, and sometimes it's not so simple to get people to understand, but at the end of the day, I want somebody to own a home, but there's a variety of price ranges here in Southern California from $300,000 up to multi-millions. Find that area where you belong, not where you'd like to be. I think we all love to live in that $3 million mansion, but find the place where you belong, because it's so important to balance that in your overall financial plan and your lifestyle. And excuse me, Duncan Bravo also has a good understanding of that as well, and Duncan knows how to help people find the right home for them. Again, I want to throw out Duncan's web address is GoBravoSellingTeam.com, and he can help you if you're interested in buying a home. If you're serious and you want to get started, please give me a call. My website, I think, is on the screen, www.mikeforloans. I can't get it any simpler than that. It's an fully encrypted website as part of our mortgage bank intranet site. So you can put your data in there. You can actually apply online, find all the answers to all your questions are there. Some of our programs are listed there, explain there. My picture is there as well, so you're at the right place. And I will be electronically notified if you go there and fill out a full application. I'll be electronically notified that you've done that, and I'll be able to reach back to you and say, ask questions if I have any questions, answer your questions, which I'm sure you have many. One of the advantages of working somebody like me as opposed to that big box bank on the corner is I work weekends, I work evenings, I work all the time.
He does. I've called him on Sunday morning. So.
There you go. And so, because mortgages is all we do, and we don't have any checking, savings, investment accounts, insurance, sales, nothing like that. Just mortgages. That's what a mortgage bank does, and that's what we're really, really good at. So,
well, and like I said, benefit from my experience of hundreds of divorces. Michael, I don't know how many thousands of mortgages thousands processes you've gone through with folks, and different scenarios and situations and income and things happening in life. So like working with myself, work with Michael, because you're benefiting from all of that experience and all of that knowledge, and he's really going to bring that to the table. And if it's your first home and that's a scary thing, he's going to reassure you. He's been there, he's done that, he's seen the scenario, and benefit from all of the wonderful experience that he has.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Kathy. And I want to remind everyone out there that both Kathy and I can speak for her as well on this, is confidentiality is of the highest importance to us. So any inquiries shall remain confidential. No worries about anybody knowing that. I know we both have done celebrities. They ultimately expect high level of confidentiality as well. So it's so important that you understand and know that confidentiality, that bond of trust is there if you choose to work with one or both of us. So,
well, and especially in a divorce scenario, having gone through it myself, I will work with often the woman, and she'll say, "Oh, I don't want this to become public knowledge, either to my friends. It's a small community, or if my ex-husband calls." I think I get that probably as much as anyone, how important that is. So yes, as Michael said, that's just the way we operate. Everything is completely confidential. Absolutely.
Great. So we're just about out of time, but I wanted to remind everyone that we're here at the corner of Hollywood and Vine. You see all the activity going on. Lots of excitement, a lot of homeowners getting on and off these buses.
There you go.
A lot of renters, too. So stay tuned to our channel. See you next time in SoCal Focus. Bye now.